The morning sun broke over the rolling hills of Yell County, Arkansas, casting a golden sheen across endless stretches of farmland and whispering forests. The mist hung low, and the air carried the smell of dew and soil, clean, raw, and honest. For Eli Turner, that quiet beauty was both a comfort and a reminder of everything he had lost. Once, this land had sung with laughter, his wife's voice echoing through the cornrows, his little girl chasing butterflies along the fence line. But that was before the tornado of 17, before the night the sky turned black and angry and tore through everything he loved. Now, 7 years later, the land was silent. And so was Eli. He rose before dawn every day, not because he had to, there wasn't much left to tend, but because habit was the only thing that kept him from crumbling. His neighbors said he was a good man, a hard-working man, one of those quiet souls who would give you the shirt off his back. But behind his weathered face was a loneliness deeper than the Arkansas River itself. The town of Dardanelle had changed around him, new stores, new families, and new laughter, but Eli still carried ghosts that never left. He moved through each day like a man paying penance to the earth, sowing seeds that rarely grew and fixing fences that didn't need mending. One chilly morning, while driving his beat-up red truck toward town, he noticed a young woman on the side of the road, pushing a baby stroller with one flat tire. She looked barely 20, her jeans torn, her hair messy, her eyes red from crying. Eli slowed, unsure. He wasn't much for talking to strangers. But something in the way she looked down at that stroller, protective, desperate, made him pull over. "You need a hand?" he asked, his deep voice rough from years of silence. She hesitated before nodding. "Just trying to get to the next town," she whispered. "The bus didn't come, and I ran out of money." Eli glanced inside the stroller. A baby, maybe 6 months old, wrapped in a thin blanket, sleeping. He swallowed. "Hop in," he said simply. "Ain't no sense walkin' all that way." She looked suspicious but too tired to argue. As they drove, she told him her name was Maya, and she was heading to Little Rock to stay with her cousin. Life hadn't been kind to her, an absent father, a broken home, a man who'd promised her the world but left when things got hard. Now, she had nowhere to go except a name and a hope. Eli listened quietly, his eyes fixed on the road, the old truck rattling like a tin can but somehow steady. When they reached the diner in town, Eli parked. "Let's get you something to eat," he said. Maya tried to refuse, embarrassed. But he waved her off and led her inside. The waitress, Betty, a woman who had known Eli since high school, raised an eyebrow. "Who's this?" she asked softly. "Just someone needin' a meal," Eli said. The way he said it silenced further questions. As they ate, Maya's baby woke and started fussing. Eli, awkward at first, reached across and made a funny sound with his lips, something he hadn't done since his daughter was alive. To his surprise, the baby giggled, a sound so pure and bright it pierced something inside him. Maya smiled weakly, tears filling her eyes. "You're good with her," she said. Eli looked down. "Used to be," he murmured. After breakfast, Eli offered to drive her as far as he could. But when they reached the outskirts of town, the old truck sputtered and died. Eli cursed under his breath and tried the ignition again, but it was no use. "Guess fate's got other plans," he said, almost smiling. Maya laughed quietly, the first genuine laugh he'd heard from her. They decided to walk to a nearby farmhouse Eli used to rent out to travelers. It had been empty for years, but it still had a roof and running water. As he fixed the door hinges and cleaned the dust, Maya sat on the porch, humming softly to her baby. Something about that sound, the gentle rhythm of a young mother's voice, brought back the echo of his wife singing lullabies in the summer heat. He stopped, leaning against the doorframe, his chest tightening. Days turned into weeks. Maya and her baby stayed in that little farmhouse while she tried to contact her cousin, who, it turned out, had moved without leaving an address. Eli brought groceries from town, helped fix up the place, and mended the old garden out back. Maya, in turn, cooked for him, brought flowers from the meadow, and filled the house with a warmth it hadn't known in years. Slowly, without realizing it, the hollowness in Eli's chest began to ease. He started to smile again, to talk again, to notice the beauty of the Arkansas sky at dusk, the way it turned gold and violet like a soft promise. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching fireflies, Maya spoke quietly. "You lost someone, didn't you?" she asked. Eli didn't answer right away. Then, in a low voice, he told her everything, about his wife, his little girl, and how the storm had taken them while he was away helping a neighbor fix his roof. "I came home," he said, staring into the dark, and there was nothing left but pieces. Maya reached over and placed her hand on his. "You were helping someone," she whispered. "That's what kind people do. You didn't abandon them, you honored them." Tears burned his eyes. He hadn't cried in 7 years. But that night, he did. The next morning, Maya was gone. The house was quiet again, except for the chirping of crickets outside. On the table, she'd left a note. "Greater than, dear Eli, thank you for everything. You gave me safety, kindness, and hope when I had none. I won't forget what you did for me and my baby. You reminded me that there are still good people in this world. I'm heading to Little Rock, found a shelter that helps single mothers. But I'll write when I can. You saved us. With love, Maya." Eli folded the note and slipped it into his shirt pocket. For days afterward, he felt the ache of her absence, but also a strange peace. For the first time in years, his life had meaning beyond grief. He started planting again, rows of corn, beans, sunflowers. And that summer, the fields came alive like never before. People from town noticed. "Turner's land is blooming again," they said. Some even stopped by to help, drawn by something they couldn't explain, the quiet kindness that radiated from him. Months later, a letter arrived. It was from Maya. She'd found work at a diner in Little Rock, saving money for a small apartment. Her daughter, Lily, was healthy and growing fast. She enclosed a photo, Lily in a tiny dress, smiling at the camera. On the back, Maya had written, "She remembers you. When she laughs, it sounds like you." Eli smiled through tears. That photo went straight to his mantel beside the faded picture of his wife and daughter. Winter came, harsh and cold, the kind that made the land look like it was sleeping. Eli's farm, though, was alive with purpose. He'd started something new, harvesting not for profit, but for giving. Every Saturday, he loaded his truck with fresh produce and drove it to town, handing it out for free to anyone in need. "Pay me back by helping someone else," he'd say, his eyes kind. Word spread across Yell County about the old farmer with the giving heart. Strangers started stopping by his gate just to shake his hand or drop off a thank you note. One spring afternoon, as he loaded boxes of vegetables into his truck, he heard a voice behind him. "You still giving it all away?" It was Maya. She stood there smiling, holding little Lily, now a toddler with curly hair and bright eyes. Eli froze, then laughed, a deep, joyous sound that startled even him. "You came back," he said, his voice breaking. Maya nodded. "You gave me a new life," she said softly. "I wanted Lily to meet the man who showed me what goodness looks like." That day, the farmhouse that had once been filled with silence came alive again, with laughter, warmth, and the smell of cornbread baking in the oven. The three of them sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the Arkansas sky in hues of amber and rose. Eli felt the weight he'd carried for so long finally lift. Maybe life wasn't about escaping pain, he thought. Maybe it was about finding the courage to open your heart again after it breaks. Years later, people in town would still talk about Eli Turner, the quiet man whose kindness changed everything. The farm became a small community center, a place where folks could come for food, friendship, or simply a reminder that goodness still existed. Maya ran the kitchen, teaching others how to cook and care, while Eli tended the fields with little Lily by his side, showing her how to plant seeds and believe they'd grow. When he passed away peacefully one autumn morning, the whole town came to his funeral. On his coffin, they placed a single sunflower, the symbol of his hope in the heart of Arkansas itself. And when the wind rustled through the fields that day, carrying the sound of laughter and love, it was as if the land itself whispered back, he was the quiet soul of the Heartland. Moral message. Sometimes, the greatest acts of love aren't loud or grand. They're the quiet, steady gestures that heal hearts, mend broken spirits, and remind us what it means to be human.